Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to another rockin' awesome night here at the Six Screens in Boston. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Boy, that was quite the program with Barbara and Al Smith. Did you hear that program that was on before us? But boy, I have to tell you, that program really got a lot of people coming in and listening. So, anyways, my name is Rick Farron, and I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And thank you for coming in and wanting to be with us on a cold Saturday night. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's been getting cold lately. I don't know about it where you live, but up here we've been getting down into the 20s at night. No snow yet. But I'll tell you what, it's nice. It really, really is nice. I got the windows open in the studio. It's nice and cool. I feel really, really good. So I just want to mention a few things here tonight. We got the duck. See the duck? We got the duck. That's our little duck. Now that duck will come down. He's got a $20 bill there. Now that duck will come down if you say the secret word. Every Saturday night we have a secret word. So if you call in to the Six Screens and you say the secret word, the duck will come down and give you $20. We'll mail it to you. So bear that in mind. We do have a secret word tonight. I'll reveal it at the end of the program. So that's our duck. Let me put him up here now. So he'll come down if you do say it. So let me bring him up. We have a little cord here that we use, and we'll put him up high, and he's up there now. So he'll come down if you say the secret word as we say. Okay, the convention, still alive in 25. Boy, I am so excited. I am getting so many people that have been emailing me and saying, Rick, I'm coming to the convention. This is just overwhelming to me. I believe that we're going to get way more people than I'm thinking, but I'm going cautious. You know, sometimes my thoughts are like grandiose, and sometimes it doesn't turn out that way. But I certainly would hope that we can get 500, 1,000, 1,500. I don't know. I don't think anybody out there listening into the program knows, but we're looking forward to getting a lot of people. Now, it's going to be up here in Boston. Yep, it's finally in. I've had so many people write me and say, Rick, have it in Boston. A lot of people said they have never been here. They would love to come here and see where the whole history of the United States started. So they want to come to Boston. And it'll be wonderful if they could come up, even with their children on vacation. And it looks like it's going to be in the month of July. Now, I have been working with the Hilton Hotel up here, and they have a good-sized room. We can fit approximately 500 people in there. And they're trying to work the best deals out for room rates. This is a brand new Hilton, friends. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's free parking. You'll be able to come and be with us. It'll be like a giant meetup as well. And they're gonna help us out a little bit with the room rates. They're gonna discount them about 20%. So in July, we're still trying to work on it. I have to meet with the sales manager on Monday, trying to solidify all of this. But it looks like it's going to be in July of 2025. Now, what happens at this particular Hilton is the witnesses also have a convention up here, and I don't want to be there the same week they are. Even the sales manager said it might be like a clash, so I don't want to be there the same week that they are. So I'm going to talk to the sales manager on Monday, and hopefully it'll be somewhere between the middle or the end of July, and we'll block off a number of rooms, and you folks will be able to call in and book a reservation and be ready for then and start making plans. I know it's not cheap, friends. I know it's not cheap. I mean, the air flight, but if you book an air flight, as soon as you get the date, the air flights are so much cheaper when you book them way out. You know, if you have like a year and a half, you can do a really good price. And the hotel rooms, they really can't give me a solid price because they don't want to really book out that far because they don't know what inflation will be. But I'm just giving you an idea that the room rates are going to be somewhere between 159 to like maybe 189. And we may even be able to do better than that. So I'm going to talk to them on Monday, but I'm looking so forward to it. It's a beautiful, beautiful hotel. It's like brand new. So that's where we'll be, Boston. still alive in 25. You know, and I have to tell you, too, we looked at Chicago. I looked at a couple of venues out in Chicago. And I have to tell you that they're beautiful, too. And maybe, you know, the following year, if all goes well, maybe we'll have a venue in Chicago. But I picked Boston this time around. I mean, this is the apostate capital of the world, as we always say. So that's where we'll be. And we're working on the website now. The 6 screens of the Watchtower. It's under construction. But in the next week, you'll start seeing, I'm going to try to give you everything I know about the convention, the parking, prices to travel from Logan Airport, which is in Boston, out to our venue. It's about 20 miles away. So an Uber might charge you $20. I don't think you have to rent a car. I mean, renting cars is very expensive today, but just land at Boston, take an Uber. Maybe even we can kind of get an Uber discount because so many people will be coming out here. So, but let me know if you're listening into the program. We're going to start giving e-tickets. So that's even starting this week. So I want to hear from you. You can write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. And I'm going to start giving numbered tickets, e-tickets to you. You'll start getting them next week if you write me. And that will reserve a spot because we only have about 500 seats. So, you know, the first 500 are booked in. We'll be able to have a seat. The others might have to mill around and listen from, you know, outside the arena. So kind of do that if you really think you can make it. Now, I'm not going to hold you hostage to come. I mean, there's circumstances that come up that sometimes you can't at the last minute. But if you really think you're coming, go ahead and let me know. Write me at JW World News and say, Rick, I think I can come. And I'm going to come with my husband. Or I'm going to come with a roommate or whatever. And then I can start at least planning. Because I do have to, I do have to book the place and put some money down and what have you. So I'm counting on you doing that for me, so I can at least be, you know, somewhat understanding what's going to happen. I don't know how big of a venue to rent. Do you? I really don't. But I'm just thinking 500 to 1,000 people. Now, if we have 1,000 people, we might have to have two segments. Really, I don't know. I'm still kind of working on that. But anyways, those that do programs on the 6 screens, they will be speakers there. We do have some other speakers as well coming in. I'm going to try to get, if all goes well, have Mike and Kim up with us. Of course, Barbara Anderson, Bill Bowen. I'm going to try to get even Paul Grundy and get a hold of some of these people that have really made a difference in exposing the Watchtower organization. Well, anyways, I'm glad you're with us. I really, really am. I'm really doing great. Now, I tell you every week, I'm going to calm down a little bit, but I tell you every week how excited I am at what I see taking place in the Watchtower. Friends, the Watchtower is collapsing. We are seeing it. Take it off the grill. It is cooked. I don't know how many more countries are going to come down on the witnesses. I wish the United States of America would. But boy, all week long as I study and go over the news for JW World News, I'm seeing so many countries that are really coming down on the Jehovah's Witness religion. Now, the latest one is Finland. I'm sorry, the Netherlands. That's Holland. The Netherlands is the old Holland. And now Holland has a bone to pick with the Jehovah's Witnesses as well. They're very concerned about how they are hiding pedophiles. Now, this is wonderful. More and more nations, I mean, as apostates, we can only speak up and expose the witnesses so much. But when countries start coming down on the Watchtower, that is amazing. I mean, that gets a lot of press. So we have Holland, we have Finland, we have Denmark, we have Norway, we have Japan, we have the UK, we have Belgium, and of course we know Russia. So there you go. I mean, many countries are starting to realize that the Jehovah's Witness religion is a fraud. They're doing things that are not ethical and not even legal. So that is wonderful. So I'm so glad that we have countries now that are saying that that's it. Throw the towel in, Watchtower. We're coming after you. Isn't that a wonderful thing? It makes me happy. I hope it makes you happy. What else? I've been doing this program on January 26th of 2024. I will have been doing this program for 19 years, and I have never missed a Saturday night. I'm not kidding. I've never missed a Saturday night. Thank God. I never got sick. I was always able to do the program. I've done it from the emergency room in the hospital with my wife here, Susan. I've done it on the road. I've done it wherever we could find a phone, wherever we can find an internet connection and do the program. Now, why would I do that? I do it because it's very important. This program is in real time. Now, there's no other programs like that. We are in real time. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're suffering, maybe tonight you're sitting by yourself, you're being shunned by your family, you're laying in bed, you might even have tears in your eyes because of what this Watchtower organization has done to you. So now you can speak with people in real time. This is not like, well, we'll get back to you. This is not like writing on a YouTube and hopefully you'll get a comment back. You can speak up here tonight, and I encourage you to do it. So why don't you do it? I'll put the telephone number up a little later so you can call up during the program, and you can ask me or ask any of the people that are calling into the program because they make the program. You can ask them questions on the Watchtower organization. And I know we have a lot of new ones. A lot of new ones are leaving the organization. We all know that, right? And they're listening in here tonight to the 6 screens. So it's just, I am so happy to see this all happening. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about some of the things that I see that's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And, one thing I have to say, and you guys know it, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here at times, but, Jehovah's Witness, elderly Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm now learning, I'm getting information coming into the 6 screens that they really need and want the Watchtower to keep going. Now, the young people, they don't want the Watchtower to keep going, but the elderly people do. Now, just stop and reason with me here. You have to think about this. An elderly person, let's say they're 70, from 70 up. Let's go with that. Let's use that as a starting point. So if you're 70 years old plus, you certainly don't want to admit that you wasted your whole life. And, now you will continue to have to support other Jehovah's Witnesses as their health declines. So the older ones kind of stick together, and they're kind of banding together, and they see themselves like, geez, we wasted, they don't want to say it, but they will admit, and some of them will, that they wasted their whole lives following the dictates of the Watchtower. But what are they going to do? They'll want to continue to support one another, and even as their health declines. And right now, listening to the program, we have a lot of elderly people, and their health is declining. And the future doesn't look well for them. I mean, the elderly Jehovah's Witnesses, they're in a very difficult spot due to their devoting their entire life to the Watchtower. They not only devoted their life in time, but also in their resources and money to this terrible cult. So a lot of the witnesses gave a lot of money away. A lot of witnesses, elderly witnesses today, are not doing well financially. They have little to nothing left. The Watchtower has drained them. And I feel kind of sad for them. They don't want to admit, the older Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't want to admit to the reality that they devoted their lives to something that has been a fraud. And that's what many Jehovah's Witness elderly ones are thinking. Really, Armageddon's around the corner. Don't go to school. Don't get a career. Why would you do that? Pioneer. Don't get that job. Pioneer. Armageddon's coming. That's what they kept saying. So now we have a lot of elderly ones. I'm talking 1 million plus that are having all kinds of problems financially. Now they're having problems with their health, and they're saying, what did I do here? Isn't that something? It's It's so terrible to hear that. Chewy, what do you want to say, Chewy?
Yeah, I was going to say, and there is a lot of people that are in their 60s and their 70s, and me, I'm in my 50s. There is a lot of people out there that have never made a one stinking house payment. I know them. They're still renting. I know couples in Arkansas. I know a couple in Arkansas that are in their 70s, and they've never made a house payment. And now they're getting up to the age where they're not going to be able to work anymore. So yeah, and there's more than that one out there. Anyway, that's all.
Well, who would you blame on that, Chewy? Would you blame the Watchtower?
Oh yeah, you bet. I found that picture, Rick. I found that picture, and I want to come to that convention, but I want to make a big old picture. You said stay alive, and we're still alive in 75. I'm going to get a picture of my family back in 1972. And it's a picture that we're just fixing to go to the Sunday meeting. And underneath it, I'm going to have me a picture, the same spot, because I'm still there. Everybody else is gone. They're gone. And I'm going to get a Watchtower bound volume and open it up to that stay alive till 75. And then underneath it, I want to put on there, WTF, what the blank, Watchtower. And I want a big poster of that. I want a big poster of that at the convention.
Well, I hope you can make it up here at the convention, and it'll be worth your trip. It really will be. I know your wife might not make it, but maybe she'll be out by then, Chewy. We don't know, right? Yeah. Well, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm going to have that picture. Yeah, I'm going to have that picture of my family up there before 75. I say, this is what's left,
Well, good for you. Well, I mean, we've got so many people have been writing me, so it looks really good. But the older people, the elderly Jehovah's Witnesses, they're finding out the Watchtower is simply false. They realize it's now a bunch of lies, but they've been misled for decades by these older men in New York. But boy, they're in trouble. Well, what do they really do? That's the problem. So yeah,
there was one video that I watched about 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't really on any kind of apostate channel, if that's what you want to call it, or even a news clip. What it was like a convention center that kept a tab of all the conventions that they had, and it was just a regular, like a public civic center type deal, And they had a couple of witness conventions on there, just like a 20-minute clip. There was no sounds, and I guarantee you, Rick, they were hard pressed in the auditorium. They had about 50%. You were hard pressed to find anybody under 40. Very hard pressed. I saw one couple that was in their 20s, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hearing, Chewy. We're hearing that is the case. The Kingdom Halls have all young people, not young people, but all older people. And that's why they're now realizing these older ones as well. But what do you really do? You put all of this time in, and now you realize that you've been misled for decades. Boy, that could be very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. So, the thing is with the older Jehovah's Witnesses, too, they don't know what to do. They really, really don't. Many of their children have got up. They left the Watchtower, so they can't speak to them. They've been disfellowshipped. And the only support that the older Jehovah's Witnesses have is they have a little social Jehovah's Witness social network. They have some witnesses that they band together with, and they kind of use them as a crutch and realize that maybe they're the only ones that will help them. They are terrified. The older Jehovah's Witnesses are terrified of not having friends to support them in their old age. Now, just stop and think. I want you just to stop and think about that. And, we're all going to get old someday. And I want you to think it would be a terrifying thing to see you getting old. You're starting to lose your health. You're starting to really run into problems. It's not like when you're a 20, 30, 40-year-old person. You really need support. You need someone that can help you in your old age. And so now the witnesses, even though they know that the Watchtower is not teaching them the truth, that they're hoping that, okay, fine, I'll just go along with it, and maybe I can get some hope from my JW social network. Without the people in the local congregations, there are people in the local congregations that will help some of these older ones. But the organization isn't going to do it. They're relying on ones that are in the organization. Chewy, what else you have to say?
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one last thing.
Yep.
Yeah, one last thing. My wife got her citizenship papers here a couple months back, and when we had to go down to the Social Security office to do something, I forget what it was in connection with that. And I said, "Hey, sir," I said, "Well, while we're here," I said, "Why don't you print out what I'm going to get in Social Security when I retire, say 65, and then why don't you do the same thing for her and show her what she'll get at 65 if she keeps doing what she's doing." He saw the figure. She didn't like it. She didn't like it at all.
Well, no, it's it's disturbing.
No. Yeah. And I said, now do you see why I'm putting back every week in our 401k, babe? All right. That's all I got.
Well, that's good, Joey. Thank you very much for checking in with us. Thank you very much. Did we have another caller that want to come in? Was that Dan out there? I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah,
Yep.
Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, I've seen a lot of witnesses wake up right on their deathbed, and they're pissed, and they're told by the brothers that they had a breakdown. My grandpa was one of them, faithful all his life, elder, laid on his deathbed, said, "I think I made a mistake," on his deathbed. And my uncles looked around at everybody and said, "Grandpa's having a breakdown." Could you imagine not even being validated at your death? My mother died alone. My brother died alone. Nobody came to visit him. Once your workhorse is done, once you're done being Watchtower's workhorse, once you can't pass out magazines and make meetings and give talk and spread their propaganda, you're a throwaway. And so it's sad what you're saying, Rick, that there's nobody going to help them in the hall. I've seen so many that got old and they die alone. There's nobody going to visit them. I know whole halls now that are filled with just old people. And they're all just trying to look out for themselves. They can't even get over to visit people. They're in wheelchairs. They're in this. And I think of this too, Rick. How many of those people, I mean, this sounds really kind of out there, but those people have never had eyes to see. They've never seen their true potential. They've never seen the image and likeness that they were made by God. All they've been is a program their whole life, a Watchtower program, and lived in that and then thrown away when they're done. How sad is that? That's why we're activists, Rick, and we will be at that convention, me and Angela. We will be wherever it's at. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful to show people that life goes on after the Watchtower, and you might even find your true self. You might even be able to do something wonderful and beautiful in the world because we're supposed to be a light in the world, not a Watchtower program. And I'm all for it. And I'm just glad, Rick. That's why we're sharing. That's why we're talking to people. That's why we're sharing our stories. That's why we came back to help. How can you just turn your back? How can you just walk away when you've woken up, and watch these people struggle, watch these people get their shit taken from them, watch their, be run around in fear, fire drills in the hall, assemblies saying you got to flee to this and leave your belongings behind, and watch these brothers run through the mill through brainwashing propaganda and drug through the shit. And that's our family. How can we just walk away, get on a cruise ship and say, I'm going to go have a good time? Maybe you need a rest. Maybe we need to get away. I'm not judging some of those people. But when you wake up, you got to make some kind of effort, I think, to go back and give a hand up and say, hey, brother, I'm here, man. Come on. Life's waiting for you. The person you never met is waiting for you. Eyes that have never seen are waiting to be opened up. You don't have to live under the veil of Watchtower anymore, under that fear and doubt and worry that they're running you by. But anyway, Rick, I just wanted to share that. Thank you for bringing out those points about the old age. It just kind of triggers me because my family died in there under that. And I saw beautiful health rot to shit with Watchtower. You can't be in compartmentalization. You can't be under people, like Al said, who are having breakdowns at the top because they're teaching split mind shit. Saying light's dark, light, we got new light, that light went out, we got more light, here's more light, less light, more new publications, changing doctrines. The organization itself is schizophrenic. And that's what's wrong. And so you got a whole bunch of sick people in there. And I was one when I left. But, you pull out of the smog, and you get a sense of yourself. Maybe you reconnect with God, and life works out wonderfully. So anyway, just wanted to share that, Rick. Thank you.
Well said, Dan. Always appreciate your comments. I really, really do. But one thing I noticed with a lot of the elderly witnesses is they really can't explain the current Jehovah's Witness doctrine. If you question them about it, that they can't tell you about the overlapping generation, that they can't tell you about some of the strange things that are coming out concerning reporting time. They just go mute on you. They just say, all the elderly ones, at least I've been in contact with, and people have written me and told me, the elderly ones are just saying that they're waiting on Jehovah. They're waiting on Jehovah for Armageddon to happen, and then they can get paradise. So you got, 70, 80, 90-year-old people. That's all they can really say. They're not following the Watchtower doctrine. They know little about it, but they've just been hanging on for so long, Dan. Yeah.
Do you think their brains just shut down after a while, Rick? Think about what's happening right now with all the AI, all the computers, all the stuff that's coming on. How do you keep up with it? I think there's 8,000 things that come out new every day. And I think those old people don't have the capacity. I think that's why they're shutting down. Just staring at you like a deer in the headlight. What can they do? I really do think you're right, Rick. They just can't function anymore. It's just, please, new system, come. Please, end, come. And then they end up on their grave bed looking up, going, like their life, going, what the hell did I just do?
Well, that's exactly some of the information that came in to the 6 screens this week. People writing me and telling me about their elderly parents and the older Jehovah's Witnesses. They just want Armageddon to hurry up and come. They're hoping they can get into paradise before they die. Now, those are some of the things we were taught. That we will never die. We'll go right into the new system. Well, now some of these old ones are dying. It's sad. It's very sad to watch this. Yeah.
Every time a storm came, I've said this on the 6 screen before, my dad would be in the living room and we'd all be in there and a storm would come. And he would say, blow the goddamn house down, blow the shit away. And we're like, what's going on, Dad? What's happening? And he was so frustrated at life, he couldn't live up to Watchtower. He was worried about 75. And then he'd look at us and go, by 75, boys, it'll be all over. And we go, you mean I'm not going to drive, Dad? I'm not going to graduate? So I graduated with a D-. I went to school and I put my head down. I said, I'll take an E for today. I didn't need school. I didn't need college. I didn't need, God help me, what I could have been if I'd have got into some of that stuff and got a little more educated. But Watchtower stole all that. They stole my identity. They took the place. They took over my temple. They took over my heart. They took over my left brain. They took over my right brain. They became my mediator in my right brain. They took over my left brain. I didn't have to think. I just had to follow Watchtower. They took over my whole fucking temple. But not anymore. Rick. Not anymore. What God has set free, we're free indeed. No more Watchtower.
Well, there you go, Dan. I know that's okay. That's okay. No, I allow for that when the passion comes with it. When the passions come with it. Okay, we've got it looks like 978. I think that's Dick Borgie. Hello, Dick.
It's hard to follow the act of Dan Clark, but I would just like to add just a little to what he was saying. And it's just this, and I say this a lot on 6 screens. When you realize that you've been conned, you've been lied to, you've been deceived, you've been used, and you have other Jehovah's Witnesses that I'm not going to put a blood guilty thing on, like if you're going to be blood guilty if you don't tell somebody. But I think it's a real sin and a shame if you find out through 6 screens or any other area that it is a fraud. You got to tell somebody. If you don't have the whatever it takes, the guts, call it guts, to do it in person, send them an anonymous postcard and say, listen to 6 screens and give the telephone number and just say you won't regret it, or wake up. Do something to have people listen to 6 screens and just wake up Thank you, Rick.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Dick. Thank you. Let's go to 718. I believe that our good friend Shirley. Hello, Shirley.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that comment Shuey made about his wife and Social Security. If I was listening correctly, it made no sense to me. Do you understand what he was trying to say? Like his wife was scared to see what she was going to get? Because I didn't understand that. I'm on Social Security for a year. I've had no problem. What was Shuey trying to say?
Well, I think what I think what he was trying to say is, now that if people are getting older and they're approaching 62 and up, they begin to think, well, I paid into Social Security all my life. What am I going to get? And then, Social Security will give you some type of an estimate. And that probably frightened her. She probably thought, wow, I'm not going to have enough to live. What's it going to be like? So that might, I think that's what he was talking about, Shirley.
Oh, because I just saw a year ago. I don't know if it's a state issue, but mine. I know we're not all millionaire, a big giant check, but it's not supposed to make you, like the higher echelon, but it's something to get by on. I know what my job did. People did made less money than me, and by no means is I getting a big paycheck, but I just don't understand what he was trying to say, because Social Security does help. It's damn sure it's helping.
Well, I think what it is a lot of now. Remember a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses, they really didn't make a lot of money. When you stop and think about it, they got.
So he didn't say what his wife did, so that's why I'm confused. What did she do? I know. So
well, I'm not sure. She might not have had.
Like a broad statement, it's not a broad statement, which she sounded like he was trying to make.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe he'll call back and let us know. But I can tell you, that's what people want to know as you're getting close to retirement age. You'd like to know, gee, what am I going to get? What's the government going to give me? Am I going to have enough money to live on? Geez, my rent is, $1,500 a month. I got this, that, and everything else. So, but, a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses, that they are in poverty. A lot of them are in poor health, poverty, have nothing to look forward to. Many of them on their deathbed, but they're still clinging to the belief that these wealthy men in Warwick, New York, are telling them. These wealthy men hold the key to their future, and they don't help them one bit. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you for coming and being with us tonight. Appreciate it. All right. My goodness. Wow. We got a lot of people coming into 6 screens tonight. You are on JW World News. The news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. Boy, I'll tell you what. When I want to thank everyone for sending me news. This is like a news clearinghouse here. And all week long, all night long, the phone is dinging. People are sending messages. But the biggest news article this week, I have to tell you, the biggest news article in the JW religion has to do with Sister Pamela Longeren. That's how you pronounce it. And Sister Longeren, Sister Pamela. Well, let me show you a picture of Sister Pamela. And I'll tell you a little bit about Pamela. She was all over the news. That's her right there. If you're listening in on YouTube, or if you're listening in on Facebook, you'll see her picture. She is a female pedophile. Now, you don't hear of too many female pedophiles, but female pedophiles exist. There's a number of them even in the Watchtower. We've talked about that before. Now, a female pedophile, it's a little different with a female pedophile versus a male pedophile. I'll just give you an idea. Now, of course, a female pedophile, for the most part, they go after young boys. They try to have sex with young boys. They groom them, as this Sister Pamela was doing. And the strange thing about it, many male victims of grooming are even, being raped and manipulated sexually when they were just little guys. They're kind of horror. They don't want to come forth and tell their story because it has such a strange, enigma, or you could say a strange theory behind this. Young men will not come forth because other young men think that, that would be Wonderful. I wish that happened to me. I wish some older woman got a hold of me when I was 14, 15 and had sex with me. So you can see the difference here. So, in fact, what other young men would say, well, why would you worry about that? I mean, you were getting the attention of an older woman and she wanted to have sex with you. I know that sounds crazy, but grooming is grooming. Underline that. The damage is real, whether you're a male or whether you're a female. Put yourself in that position. Really, when you stop and think about it, it's something that young men don't want to come forth and talk about. But this woman, Pamela, Sister Pamela, she is a great example of how Jehovah's Witnesses fail, not only protecting their kids within the organization, but also how they fail protecting kids in the community at large. I want you to think about that. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Pamela. I'll go into a little detail, so it won't be too graphic, but I want to tell you a little bit about Sister Pamela. Well, her stepfather is an elder, even to this day, according to what I've read. So her stepfather is an elder. The mother, Pamela, Sister Pamela, the pedophile's mother, runs a preschool, and they have known about Pamela being involved in pedophilia from around 2014. So that's about 10 years ago, right? So they've known their daughter was a female pedophile, and they allowed her to work in the preschool. Now, the mother owns a preschool, as I mentioned to you, and they allowed Pamela to work in the preschool. Now, seriously, if you knew for 10 years that your daughter was a female pedophile and she was going to be around little preschool people, would you allow her to do that? I mean, I'm finding this very, very strange. Now, also the eldest son, Pamela's brother, he was disfellowship for sex with a minor in 2007, 2008. So we have a family here that's pretty much over the top. And the mother of Pamela, the pedophile, she actually had 4 kids by 3 different dads. Did this family sound sexually perverted to me? I don't know about you. So the stepfather tried to murder his son, and the stepson, in an alcoholic rage. This family has got some serious problems. The whole family, in my estimation, is weird. But she groomed Pamela, the Jehovah's Witness, woman, female, pedophile. She groomed the boy from age 14 before having sex with him 2 years later. Yeah, she groomed him. Well, what do you mean by groom? What do they do to groom? What do you do to get a person ready to have sex with you? Friends, I don't want to do graphic here, but what do you actually do to have a person, in this case, Pamela Lonergan, I guess Lonergan is the way to pronounce it, Pamela Lonergan. Well, she went to work early, grooming this young boy. He's only 14 years old. And, she'd write him emails and tell him that she loved him and she wanted to have sex with him and she wanted him to have sex with her, the first sex he would have in his life. I mean, all of this stuff I'm reading from the newspaper. And this all happened in Ireland in the year 2008, 2009. And, anyway, she went to court. And they did realize that she was a pedophile. She confessed to the congregation that she did this. So she was reported to the police, and she had to go to court, and she received a 1 year. I can't believe it. Just a 1 year jail sentence for this offense. I can't believe that that's all they would give her. Now, she was 26 years old when she first started contacting this boy she was going to have sex with. At first, it started off, it was very platonic. The boy was just her friend, and he was 14. But then it started to get intense as the boy started getting older. Friends, I'm not going to get into all the graphic details here. I mean, I don't know if it's necessary. But the point I'm trying to make, she was aware that the boy was a minor. and she was grooming him. And the boy was a virgin, and they had sex when he was 16. He was a minor at the time. So that's why in Ireland she got in big time trouble. So, I mean, it goes on and on. The story goes on and on and on. She did apologize to the victim. She went forward and mentioned it to the congregation. And she told the congregation that she had sex with this boy. It bothered her conscience. And of course, everything hit the fan at that point. She told, well, anyways, just to give you a little idea here, we don't have a whole lot of time to go into it. I got a lot here to talk about, but I won't talk about it all. But the young man, he wanted to go to university, but because his life got so messed up having sex with this older woman that he couldn't finish school, so he dropped out at age 16. But he wanted to go on and have a successful career. So you can see what this does when you have a pedophile that's trying to, at least raping you in this case. It's a very caustic environment. I mean, put yourself in this man's shoes. So, but this is not the first time I heard about a woman pedophile in the organization. I'm not going to say it's common. There's way more male pedophiles. But, all of a sudden, too, I got information coming into me in the last few days here from the 6 Greens about Bethelites. And even at Bethel, there were plenty of female pedophiles. Now, you say, what? At Bethel? Female pedophile? Yes, at Bethel. I got information from a number of people. I've got information here at the 6 Greens. And one particular man, he says he was 19 at Bethel. That would be in Brooklyn. That was back in the mid-70s. And he became romantically involved with a pioneer sister that was 10 years older than him. And it turned out that the situation was not unique. He said a number of my fellow Bethelites were involved with older sisters. One even married, and older divorced sisters with kids. So it wasn't uncommon that older sisters would force themselves on these young males. Now, I mean, you're saying that really happens, Rick? Well, I'll tell you what, the Bethelite here, he called them theocratic cougars. And they would attack these young men, theocratic cougars. I mean, what type of a place is Bethel? When you stop and think about it, think of all the women that were going after young Bethelites. Seriously, it's a little bit over the top. Well, I don't know. We'll end it there. But anyways, yeah, there are female pedophiles, even in the Jehovah's Pure organization. Well, we're glad you're with us tonight on JW World News. My goodness, we do it every Saturday night. We will not be doing it tomorrow. It'll be next Saturday. We got 773. Come on in, Chicago. You're on with us. What do you have to say?
Hi, Rick. It's Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Hi, good, Rick. How are you?
Good.
This probably didn't make the national news, but in Chicago about a week ago, last Sunday, there was a sister from near north side of the city. She was getting into her car in the morning to head to the assembly in Romeoville, and there was an attempted carjacking, and she was shot and killed.
I didn't hear that. My goodness gracious. What was that, in the local paper or what?
It was on a local TV station here in Chicago. It was ABC, Channel 7. And but I just thought it was a little bit strange that they mentioned where she was going. They just did not leave it as a woman was attempted carjacking, getting into her car. They went into detail. They said she was a witness, and they said she was headed to the assembly hall in Romeoville.
Wow. Yeah.
So
that's where they have the assembly. So that's something else. I mean, well, Steve, don't you think it's getting dangerous to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think any of us who've been around this organization for any amount of time, I can remember years back how they always give that experience of some sister allegedly at the door who was accompanied by 2 big men / angels. I guess that wasn't the case with her.
Well, the angels weren't with her. Well, Steve, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, that just shows me that, again, being a Jehovah's Witness, but I mean, it could have happened to anybody, but more and more Jehovah's Witnesses, my goodness, they're being bumped off like flies. I can't believe it.
Right. But the society always brags about how Jehovah protects his people. You know, I forgot some years back where there was the typhoon. I forgot what country it was. Instead of, you know, the people were instructed to go to higher ground. The society told the witnesses to go to the Kingdom Hall. Well, I think 33 people died. And I think the society took a gamble, because if everybody would have survived, that would have given them bragging rights to say, look, Jehovah's Holy Spirit guided the elders and told them to go to the Kingdom Hall, and they were all saved. Well, they gambled with a lot of people's lives and they lost. So again, they're hocus pocus, they're nonsense, trying to fool people into believing in this cult.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Now, don't you be a stranger. You come back and see us soon, okay?
Thanks, Rick. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Steve. All right. Well, my goodness gracious, many things are going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So observations, there was a convention, an assembly, I should say. An assembly this week. People write me. They give me information about the assembly they went to. But observations from the assembly that was held this week, he doesn't want to share with me where it was. He doesn't want to be known. But anyways, the total attendance at the assembly was 986. He says there's so many empty chairs. Everywhere you looked around, it was empty. He said there was no need to show up on time. Remember years ago, when you went to the convention or you went to an assembly, you had to be there on time or you wouldn't even get a seat. Now, he says in the past, there was like 500 more people that would be there. But he says that was before the pandemic, COVID. But now it's not like it used to be. Anyways, what he did mention, now this is an interesting thing. There's now a new position. You know, the Watchtower is always giving people a position to make them feel good. So he said at the assembly, it's kind of new. They never suggested this before. But they now have a new position. They call them trash monitors. Yes, you can become a trash monitor in the Jehovah's Witness organization. And what they do is they're saying you don't throw your trash away anymore. The trash monitors that have been picked by the elders, they now come and they take your trash for you. So someone literally takes your trash from you and make sure it gets put into the correct bin. They seriously micromanage. I mean it. They micromanage every aspect of a person's life. So is that just another way to keep Jehovah's Witnesses busy? I think it is. A trash monitor. I mean, how many people are going to reach out for that? Are you reaching out, brother? Are you reaching out to be a trash monitor? Oh, my goodness. I can just see that the more positions they make, the more responsibility they give people, it goes to their head. So a JW trash monitor, that's the newest position in the Watchtower. Now, they had 3 interviews at this assembly. The brother gave me information on this. Of course, they had a young girl that was pioneering, and she didn't choose a career, but she chose to pioneer. She wanted to be a pioneer rather than get a career. You see how they're really hurting people? This is unbelievable. And then they also talked about a family that didn't want her daughter to become a Jehovah's Witness. They persecuted her, but it's okay. The Watchtower and the assembly said it's okay that her family left her, but now she has a new family. Where have you heard that before? A new family, right? That's what the Jehovah's Witnesses do. Disconnect you from your real natural family and give you a new family. And then they had a 91-year-old brother. The man gave me the information this week. They had a 91-year-old brother get on stage, and how he goes to the meetings, and he's there all the time. And basically what the Watchtower is trying to suggest here, if he can get out of bed and go to the meetings and service, you can do too. That's just what they do. That's what the Watchtower does. They use these extreme examples. Here's a 91-year-old man. If he can get out in service and he can come to the meetings, why can't you? Shirley, what do you think?
Oh, well, I was thinking that they use that. Remember Africa? They said people used to cross ponds or fight, go through the water and fight alligators or whatever to make their meetings. You remember that?
Oh, yes. Oh, same thing.
So, yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. I know the United States different than Africa, but still, it's the same mindset. If the brother is in Africa, they have to fight, and you have to go through the water, and whatever it is, it's the same mindset. United States, Africa, whatever country. That's what they, put in front of you.
Yeah. Well, it's that's what they do. That's why, boy, it's so difficult being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Shirley, you can't relax. I mean, they're always usually if this guy can do it, you can do it. Jeez, how much pressure they want to put on a person. Thank you, Shirley. Always appreciate you calling in. No, I came across this. In fact, I get some information that I got this week at the 6 Screens, and it's sad. But right now, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are homeless. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are homeless, and I'm going to get into one particular story here. But, I want to tell you, everyone out there right now listening to this program, you see the Salvation Army. Well, they're ringing bells. You go to the supermarket, you go to Walmart, wherever you go, the Salvation is out there. Salvation Army is out there ringing bells. Now, right now, this time of year, during the holiday season, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, churches are reaching out. Churches are actually reaching out. They're trying to help poor people. They've got food pantries, soup kitchens. They've got ways of helping you with coats and clothing. And they're all reaching out, trying to help all the poor people that are falling through the cracks. And are the Jehovah's Witnesses, is the Watchtower organization, are they reaching out like the other churches? Are they trying to really help people? Right now, friends, I have to tell you, there's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of people that are really doing terrible the way that the economy has been. So what is the witness world doing for them? And this man gave me some information this week that's just it's gonna blow your mind. It kind of bothered me, but the more I think about it, we'll talk about it here. But there was an older man. He's on dialysis, evidently. I think he is on dialysis. He has a catheter, and he's living in his van. This information came to me this week. He's living in his van in the Kingdom Hall parking lot. And it's really despicable when I stop and think about it. That particular Kingdom Hall parking lot that he's parked in, there's an overseer's apartment. Some of the Kingdom Halls have apartments, and this particular Kingdom Hall apartment is empty. And the elders will not let him live there. Now, let's just stop and think about this. I'm not saying that the elders have to really help everybody. But we have a man here that's on a catheter. He's old. He's sick. He's sleeping in his van in the Kingdom Hall parking lot. And he just came out of the hospital, and he had nowhere to go. When he got out of the hospital, he had no home to return to. So he started living in his van. And he was asleep in the Kingdom Hall parking lot because he was afraid that he would get a parking ticket. If you sleep in your van on the side of the road, the police could come by and give you a ticket. But if he's in the Kingdom Hall parking lot, at least they let him. I mean, at least I think it was nice to some degree that the witnesses let him at least sleep in the parking lot in his van. But, the person that gave me this information, this was his uncle. And he loved his uncle. And he says, really, his uncle needs some help. So he tried to talk to the Kingdom Hall where the uncle was parking his van. He tried to talk to the brothers in that Kingdom Hall. And one of the brothers said, well, they'll try to work something out, that maybe they could let him stay in the apartment and he could get cleaned up. He could take a shower. The poor man's on a catheter. He's sick. He just got out of the hospital. I mean, talk about trying to help people. I don't think the witnesses really want to do it. So, anyways, to make a long story short, uh, this young man that gave me the information, he said that his uncle was still sleeping in the van and he's waiting for the elders to see if they could open up the apartment for him. But then he came back and mentioned that they won't do it. Nope, they won't do it. In fact, one particular elder at the congregation, he says, well, it's not the congregation responsibility to do this. So, I mean, he really came back in an ugly way. And, the nephew here was really looking forward to having his uncle stay in the Kingdom Hall and be able to take a shower and be normal. It wasn't going to be for a long, long lasting time, but you would think that an empty apartment, you got a guy sleeping in a van in a parking lot, you think that they could be a little bit loving on that. But he said, no, it's just not how it works. The elder said, no, this is not how it works. We're not going to be able to let him sleep in the apartment. Here's an empty apartment. A sick old man just got out of the hospital. I mean, there's got to be exceptions, right, to every rule. Dick, what do you have to say?
Yeah, what happened to that scripture about when did we see Jesus naked and clothe you, hungry and feed you, thirsty and gave you something to drink? I guess they never read that scripture. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, no, I can understand. I can understand positions people take on this. But, sometimes you got to bend the rules a little bit. You got to really bend the rules a little bit. Now, I know that, I mean, what do you have to do to get a Kingdom Hall apartment? I suppose you have to be anointed by God himself, never struggle mentally or economically, to have a special honor or position that you could be put into one of these special apartments. There was a time, and I don't know, maybe you guys listening to the program tonight can remember, but there was a time when they leased these apartments, rented them out, so to speak, at a minimal rent to some in need. I know even the Kingdom Hall I went to here in Wilmington, Massachusetts, they had 2 nice little apartments, and there was 2 young couples that would live in there, and they had a nice little, really, really nice little apartments. And then all of a sudden, one day out of the blue, the Watchtower said you got to leave. So there were couples that went there for sometimes 6-7 years, and all of a sudden the announcement was made that no, you got to leave. The announcement was made that only these apartments could only be used by circuit overseers. Only used by circuit overseers. So, when they would come around, they could use it. But other than that, you could sometimes 6 months where nobody can use it. And you get this Jehovah's Witness man sleeping in his van. Why don't you let him just use the apartment so he could take a shower and have some sympathy for the guy? So when you stop, yes.
Yeah, just a further thought. If that brother is sleeping in the van, came down with pneumonia and died, wouldn't the congregation elders be blood guilty?
Well, Dick, I have to agree with you. Now, I'm sure there's people listening to the program that say, Rick, no, the elders did the right thing, and, everybody could ask for the apartment. But I'm talking about an empty apartment. I'm talking about an apartment that's only used when the circuit overseer comes around. Geez, what would be the problem letting a man go in there and take a shower and stay there for a couple of months even, just to get himself back together and get healthy? We have got, okay, I thought there was another person on there, but I'm just thinking that. You don't have to make it a long-going arrangement, but let the man get out of his van and be comfortable and sleep in a bed rather than sleeping in the back of his van. Friends, this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Let me remind you of that. What does it do for its members who are struggling? They do nothing. Zero. Nothing. I remember even during COVID, really, a lot of times during COVID, many of the witnesses couldn't work. They couldn't make money. They had no food. They couldn't pay their rent. And then what did the Watchtower do? Oh, they stepped in. They were going to help the brothers and sisters. So they provided a list of government programs that would help the witnesses. And actually, they even had a farm-to-table program. Remember that? When they brought food to their house? Well, that was all government food to begin with. It wasn't because of the Watchtower. But what does the Watchtower do to help their poor witnesses? Nothing. They do nothing. Now, I remember that these apartments at one time were held by regular people that were okay. The Jehovah's Witnesses will rent the apartment out, but now they're only for circuit overseers and especially privileged people who worship the governing body. That's how you get an apartment at the Kingdom Hall. They don't take a credit reference. They don't ask any questions on who you know or who you don't know. The only way to get an apartment at the Kingdom Hall is you have to worship the governing body. Yeah, even retired yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Rick, that's what I've seen too. Unless you're faithful to org all the way to the end. I mean, when you get sick, and like you said, that guy was on dialysis. I know a guy who was on dialysis, and he died alone too. And he was pissed off too. His name was Brother Epperson, and he died. And he was saying, "I've been deceived," and he was cussing, and and all this. He was an elder, but he was thrown away somehow. I don't know why, Rick, but you become a defect when you get sick, and when you start falling away a little bit, because you're sick or whatever, they just think you got weak. So it's weird. It's a sort of branding that Watchtower does so that they can just sort of wean you out. And so there's no help. It's sickening, Rick. And like you said, there's food banks all over here. The Mormons have big, massive food banks as big as grocery stores. And they're giving back a little. I mean, they're building temples all over, but they've got a place for people to go get food. There's a church over here, a big church called the Vineyard. They've got dentists. They've got a hospital. They've got a big food place, and they've got a massive storage where they've got a forklift. And Watchtower's got way more money than these guys, way more money, and they don't give one penny to these people. They're throwaways. They cripple their minds through compartmentalization, and then their body follows. Their body follows. They deteriorate, and they fall into the cracks, and Watchtower goes on.
Well, very good, Dan. Yeah, I'm not sure he was on dialysis, but I know he had a catheter, and I know that the man just got out of the hospital. And when he got out of the hospital, he had nowhere to live. So, at least the brothers let him sleep in the van in the Kingdom Hall parking lot. At least they did that.
Did you ever have that, Rick, though? Did you ever feel like that in there? I don't know. I did. I remember when I saw those sick brothers, I don't know why I didn't want to go around them, But when my mother was sick, nobody came and visited her. I mean, nobody. I mean, the horrible place she had to stay in when she died. And nobody came to visit her. And I was like, where's all the brothers? Probably a lot of them were dead already, But it's just sad to see people thrown away, to see people that never got to realize who they were. The idea that guy had when they created them, and it never got developed. It was a dud. It was one of the ones that that didn't wake up, and it's just sad. So anyway, Rick, just glad you're doing the show and you're helping people wake up. It's really sad to see this kind of stuff going on in an organization, especially one that calls itself a religious organization. I agree with Porgy.
Well, thank you, Dan, for saying that. Yeah, I agree with Porgy too. But it's something here that really got my attention, because I remember when I was even one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I want you guys to remember back to how many times did the witnesses come up and say, "Now, if you need anything, I'll help you. If you need something, I'll help you. Can I help you with something?" So they never really meant they'll help you in a physical way. If it got right down to, well, yeah, you could help me get to the meeting. I'm having trouble. My car's broke down or whatever. Well, no, I didn't mean that. I mean, in a spiritual way, could I help you? I mean, that's what they would say. They wouldn't want to go out of their way. Not all. I don't want to make a blanket statement here, but many Jehovah's Witnesses would not go out of their way to help you. I don't understand, and really you guys too. I know at times I'm preaching to the choir here, but I don't understand how the Jehovah's Witnesses can claim charity status when there is no help available for those in need. Nothing, zero, zilch, nothing. Nothing is available for those in need. And many witnesses fall through the cracks. I get people writing to me, talking to me about how their folks were so poor They had no money. The Watchtower wouldn't help them, and the Watchtower actually would tell them to go to Catholic charities or go to the government. So even in this one particular case, this one woman gave me information. She said her family was so poor and they didn't know what to do, and the Watchtower wouldn't help them. So they went to the local Catholic charity for help. And then the first thing the priest asked them when they got there, he was very confused. He says, well, you're Jehovah's Witnesses. Can't your own religion help you? I mean, what kind of a witness is that? So here's a priest. A priest is asking the witness family, well, can't your own religion help you? I could never understand how getting willing help from Babylon the Great, how it doesn't work. It does not work. You'd think many Jehovah's Witnesses would wake up because they got help from Babylon the Great, from the Catholic charities, but they couldn't get help from their own religion, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Friends, that is disgusting. I don't know what you think. 906, you run with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Farron.
Yes.
Yes, we've been talking about all night over here the Christian Roman Church writings, or the Orthodox Christianity, always taught to have the highest respect for the senior citizens and all that, no matter how good they are, no matter how bad they are. And I agree. I'm one of the people that always got along with senior citizens better than people with my own age, and that's still the case right now. I have the highest respects for senior citizens. I have the highest respects for veterans and whatever, regardless of whether we agree with each other or not on political issues or religious issues. I put that aside. I have the highest respect. That's what the Orthodox religion used to teach. And as far as people in need, they used to teach that it's our responsibility, the people that have, is the responsibility to look after the people that have not and try to build them up so they can get out of their predicament of poverty and so forth, and try to do everything they can to help them. Watchtower Society doesn't do any of that. It just like a person commented on one time, he says, the Watchtower Society religion wants you to do everything for them, but they will do nothing, absolutely nothing for you. And so isn't that the truth and so forth? So they have nothing but contempt for the senior citizens. They have nothing but contempt for the poor and all that. They don't care about anybody but themselves. They're nothing more than a selfish pig, in other words. And so it's really preposterous. They should be helping their own. Instead, they send them someplace else, to get help and everything like that. Really outrageous and really preposterous. And they're really not there. It's really contrary to Orthodox Christianity and so forth. So they're not a Christian religion whatsoever. They're nothing but a manipulative, brainwashing cult. That's all they are.
Well, that's a good comment, Ken. I certainly wouldn't debate that one bit. Thank you, Ken, for coming in. Let's go with 7.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, and we'll get the next caller.
All right, we got 732. You want to come on? 732. You're on next. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Brother Farron. I just wanted to say, that shows you the level of the hypocrisy in that organization. I mean, an older man there at a hospital, he's not a place to stay. They won't let him stay, in an empty apartment for a little short time till they get back on his feet. And they're talking about love all the time, love one another, help one another. And they are doing the contrary of what they're preaching. That doesn't make any sense. That shows you, how much of a, hypocrisy is going on in the organization. That shows you there is no love. They are not loving people. I mean, who would ever thought that nobody would be willing to help that man out,
Well, it's sad. It's very sad. It's very sad, Kim. It's very sad, but that's the organization. That's the organization. Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you. Always good to hear from Kim.
All right.
Don't you be a stranger. You come back and see us.
By the way, I think I plan on coming to the convention.
Oh, yeah. Well,
2025.
Well, you come to Still Alive in 2025. We got the big convention coming up. So email me at JW World News.
How long is it going to be?
It's going to be 3 days. Friday.
Like a one-day thing?
No, Friday, Saturday.
It's going to be like a
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll have a meet and greet on Friday. people will come in Friday and we'll get together and we'll talk to each other. We'll have a live stream and people coming in, why they came to the convention and why they left the witnesses. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. Thank you. If you can make it, Kim, my goodness, it'll be wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, I'm planning on it.
Oh, good. Well, okay. Well, looking forward to seeing you. Wonderful. All right.
Yes.
So, all right. So let's go with, let's go with, I think Dick's back with us, 978. Dick, you with us? Go ahead.
Hi, Rick. It's Constance. I was going to say, yeah, Kim took the message I was going to say, but that's fine. The organization always claims to be about love, love your brothers and sisters, but talk is really, really cheap in that organization, Rick. I've always said in life, as you get older, you get wiser. If somebody says something and then yet you see their conduct and their conduct or behavior is just the opposite, which of the two would you really pay more attention to? Well, of course, it would be the conduct, because your conduct will never lie. Your behavior will always prove to be who you really are versus words. People can always lie. And Watchtower are incredible liars about this. I mean, I remember, my point is that there is no love in this organization. And Jesus said, hey, you will know my disciples by the love they have among themselves. Well, there is no love. I remember a very close sister. I've mentioned her before several times on the show, Lucille, and she was a single mother. She was married and had 3 kids. Anyway, divorced her husband. He was very abusive. JW almost killed her. But anyway, they got divorced, and so she wasn't working at the time. She had been a homemaker for 10 years. And so, of course, she's disfellowshipped. The organization wasn't going to do anything to help her as far as providing food for her family. And she went to Catholic Charities. And she had never been Catholic. That didn't matter. But she had to. She had to feed her kids. And so she went to the Catholic Church, and she said, Connie, it was amazing. They didn't ask me anything. It's just I needed food for my 3 children and myself. She said they gave me a ham, they gave me potatoes, they gave me vegetables and everything. No questions asked. And I said, well, honey, I'm so glad that, you were able to take care of your family. Fortunately, she was able to get in with the city and county of San Francisco as a secretary, and she moved her way up, and she did very, very well. And she was able to support herself and her 3 kids. And she didn't have to go on welfare. But the point I'm trying to make is, the organization was not there at all. In fact, she had the 3 kids. There was a sister across the street from another sister. Lucille had went over to Jan's house, and Jan was disfellowshipped at the time. That didn't matter. Jan says, Lucille, I'll be more than happy to babysit your kids for free. Don't worry about it. And so anyway, Sister Busybody across the street had to report Lucille to the elders, and the elders, called her in. I don't think Lucille was disfellowshipped then. No, she wasn't. I think she was reinstated at that point. And the elder said, well, you have your 3 children going over to a disfellowship sister's house, and what are you bringing them over there? And she said, hey, you know what? Mario and I are now divorced. And she said, I don't have anyone as a babysitter. She's going to do it for free. I don't have the money. And Brother Meacham said, well, you can't do that because she's disfellowshipped. And I love what Lucille said. As she stood up to him, he was like a little Hitler, Rick, And she said, well, let me tell you this. If you can find anyone else who can babysit my 3 children for free, I will take my kids away from, Jan watching them, and I'll be for free. I'll be more than happy. And of course, he couldn't. They just create all this misery and pain and rules and regulations on people to make their lives a living hell, Rick, and there is no love. I don't care if whatever the situation is, there is no love. I saw it with my mom. My mom, when she was critically ill and dying, my mom was not baptized, but she's the one that brought me into the organization. Other sisters. We're talking about sisters that stayed home. They didn't do anything. They didn't have a job. They probably watched soap operas all day. I mean, they didn't have a job. Their husbands went out and worked, and yet they couldn't come over and be able to help me. So that was a real eye experience for me, Rick. I'm telling you. And for some of the people that might not believe this, I hope you really do realize that what we're telling you is the truth. You know, sometimes, you know, this kind of event has to come knocking on your door for you really to realize how ungodly and how unloving and cruel this organization is. There's nothing godly about it. So thank you, Rick.
Well, Constance, that is well said. Seriously. No, I really like the way that you address that situation. And many, many witnesses, no, they don't have too much to do at all, especially some of the women. And they would not help you one bit. Yes, Dan, go ahead.
I just wanted to share one thought with what Constance was saying. Yeah, you know, so much of this we don't see until it's too late. You don't see it until you need the damn food, and then there's nothing there. You don't see that Watchtower is one-sided until you ask them a question and they disfellowship you. It's covert. We follow the whitewashed grave, the image that they're saying, we have the truth, we have love, come to the love convention. It's only when you get bit in the ass, when you ask for something, you ask for advice. Well, did we just pass a prophecy? Did something just happen? I mean, what's going on here? And when you start getting real, then you see the hand of greedy, hardcore narcissists crush your skull under your foot because you ask a question, you go, oh my God, what the hell am I in here? And it's hindsight. And, you know, that's what's going on now, Rick. That's why there's still a few old people in there. Yeah, you know, because they're still being led by the whitewashed grave. The perception that it's beautiful, that it's good, the end's around the corner. But the minute any of them ask a question or something happens or this or that, then they get bit. And then they go, ouch, wow, these people aren't nice. These people behind the curtain. So it's like Constance said, it's so sad when you realize you're nothing. You really are nothing but a salesman for Watchtower. And they have nothing for you except work to do. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Well, I mean, that's a mouthful. Hold on one second. Who was this speaking up? Was this 310?
Yeah, this is 310. Yeah.
Oh, 310. Okay, go ahead, 310. You're on with us next. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Forget about the elder stopping over if your wife is sick with cancer. They didn't even pick up the phone and call once. And they knew she was dying. My wife was passed away about a year ago of cancer. And she'd always be on the Zoom meetings. In fact, I got some videos up here that I took with her giving her comments on Zoom and stuff like that. And, you know, they just, I mean, it's just no love. They didn't even call her once on the phone and say, oh, sister, you know, you're dying of cancer or something. I know you're not feeling well. I just want to read a scripture to you or something. No love at all. Nothing. You know, they take, and they don't give anything in return, you know. So anyways, Rick, on another, while I'm on the phone with you, just on a quick side point here, there was an article a while back in the not too long ago in the Daily Mail. You've heard of the Daily Mail, right?
Oh, yes.
The newspaper online.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So they did a really good article about the Mormon Church. So I contacted the reporter that did that article, and I wrote to him and said, there's an equally disturbing scandal taking place within the religious community of Jehovah's Witnesses, with many of the exact same things going on, you know, like don't call the police and so forth. And, you know, so the molesters are free to keep abusing people, and it's led to people committing suicide and so forth. And I mentioned about the shunning policy and how grandparents are not allowed to see their grandkids anymore and so forth. And I said, I'd like you to do an article about all this stuff going on in the Jehovah's Witnesses community, you know, and I gave him a few contacts. I told him, you know, contact Kim and Mikey and watch the videos by ex-JW Critical Thinker and so forth. Anyways, I got an email back from him, and he said, thanks for getting in touch. This certainly sounds worthy of further investigation. And he said, I note that there's an ongoing investigation in Pennsylvania that's been reported on. And he sent me the link to an AP News article. And he said, are you aware of any alleged victims who have come forward or might be willing to? In our reporting of the Mormon case, this was key. So anyways, I wrote back to him and I called him on the phone. And, I gave him the whole spiel about all the things going on in the JW community and so forth. And he's going to look into it. So I gave him, I called Kim and Mikey, and because I had given him their phone number, and I guess he's going to get in touch with them. But you know what? I'll forward you the whole email, and then maybe if you want, you can get in touch with him too, and maybe invite him on the show or something.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Go ahead and do that. Appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that right now. So when you see the email, it's and you'll see it's this guy from the Daily Mail, Miles Dilworth or something.
Well, this is Dr. Richmond, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Okay, got you.
And yeah, but it's going to come through a different email account.
Okay, good.
But you'll see it. But anyways, I told him about the Zolkin law firm. So he said, "Well, how do you spell that?" And I spelled it for him, and he's going to look that up and maybe get. So there could be an article in the Daily Mail. I'm going to follow up on it. Could be a big expose in the Daily Mail exposing the Jehovah's Witnesses. A big of expose as there was for that Mormon church article that blew things up. So just a little news for the segment JW World News tonight from the apostate capital of the world, in Boston.
Thank you, Dr. Richmond. Boy, I would like it if you could come.
Okay, Rick.
I would like it if you could come to the convention in 25. If you can make that plan, if you could do it.
Yeah. Where's that going to be now? I forgot. I'm sorry. Where's it going to be?
It's going to be in Boston. So it's something you might like to. Would love to meet you. Really, really would. So it's in Boston.
What month?
It's going to be July of 2025.
Yeah, let me make some plans. Yeah, I'll try to make it up there because I'm originally from out that way.
Meet a bunch of the people that come on the program. I think you'd really like it, Dr. Richmond. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Take care. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well,
Thank you.
anyways, my goodness gracious, we've got a lot of people calling into the 6 screens tonight. It's on. Yes, go ahead. You're on 773. Go ahead.
Yes, Steve again. Talking about the society taking care of elderly people, or for let's not forget about their Jajuri nursing home. So if you've ever looked up to those prices, anyone who really followed what the society said and didn't get a good job or education or saved, they really couldn't afford their $5,000-6,000 and up fee to live in their exclusive nursing home. But for a price, they're willing to take care of people. They're basically, typical whores. And everything this evening that everybody describes, they don't have love, they don't do that. But that was never there. It was just a con man, a con organization, a cult telling people this is what we are. But like some of the friends had mentioned this evening, you don't find it out until you actually need that. So they tell you all these spiritual blessings, all these things that are there for you. The day that comes, when it comes, if it comes, where you do really need the congregation, for the most part, I mean, they're not there. They're not going to help you because it was just all fake. It was just the lies of a cult taking advantage of people. As long as you could produce for them in a way that they needed, they tolerated you and catered to you depending on how much you produce for them. After that day is come and gone, they have no problem throwing you out in one way or the other, just ignoring you, disfellowshipping you, or anything like that. And it's sad that everybody that we've all been taken advantage of, that we don't realize it till either we've done research and studied or we've been a victim of their cult. But none of that, and it's never been there. And people, as they learn, they should understand it's not there. So when they quote the Bible and they say, well, this scripture says this, the scripture says that about the love, that doesn't mean anything to them. That never existed. It was all a ruse, all a fake. And people have to see the demonic organization for what it is, but it's sad that we all kind of had to find out the hard way.
Well, good comment. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate you calling in tonight.
Hi, Rick.
Yes, go ahead. You're on with us.
Hi, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, it's Tim here. Just quickly, I was going to say the governing body, they can pull out a parable from the Bible and apply it to themselves about the faithful and discreet slave, but a literal thing in the Bible that Jesus said. When a rich man said, "What should I do?" Jesus said, the guy's following every command, and he said, "I'm doing all of that, and what do I still lack?" Jesus said, "If you want to be perfect, sell your possessions and give to the poor." It's an outright thing he told the guy, but they can't use an actual thing that Jesus said and apply it to themselves, because they would be like that man. When the young man heard this, he went away sad because he had great wealth. The society could never sell anything to help people. They could never do that because it's too important to them. Following fake things from the Bible, it's fine, but anything real instruction, it's a nothing for them. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Tim from Australia. Always good to hear from Tim coming in. Appreciate it, Tim. Come back and see you soon. Well, anyways, we've got some more stories. If Joe and Fran listening in, we'll be starting our program at 10 o'clock tonight, Fran and Joe. So hang in with us. We're running a little bit late tonight, but hang in and your program will be up. The Outside Story coming up at 10 o'clock tonight, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Well, anyways, I got some information again this week. Circuit overseers, they're really beginning to feel something strange going on in the Watchtower. And I got some information to share with you. I got information from a man this week that the circuit overseer came and visited their congregation, and it wasn't pleasant. I mean, the circuit overseer started off by saying that in his last round of the circuit, they make certain rounds every 6 months or so to different congregations in the circuit. And he says one thing he noticed the most is that everyone is physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually drained. And that cuts across all barriers and demographics within the truth. Now, isn't that something that a circuit overseer would say that? He's saying that he's noticing that people are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually drained. I mean, this is Jehovah's organization. There's no better life, according to the witnesses, than Jehovah's organization. And yet there's people that are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually drained. He then goes on to say that the common thread that is making so many people feel this way is they're feeling guilty. They're feeling bad that they're not doing enough for Jehovah. Now, isn't that something? So we have all these people that are so discouraged. Even the circuit overseer is noticing it, and he's noticing that these people are just feeling so drained. If you're a Jehovah's Witness listening in tonight, do you feel that you're drained? I think you probably do. And when you stop and think about it, I felt drained when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I think you did too, right? So that's what the circuit overseer had to say. So he summed it up exactly. Yep, he summed it up exactly what it feels like to be in a cult. When you're in a cult, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that drain. They're going to make you guilty all the time. You can't live a life like that. You can't live a life feeling guilty all the time. And yet they'll come out and tell you, well, this is the best life ever, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I'll tell you what, things are changing in the Watchtower. There's a never-ending wait to drain more out of you in the Watchtower. As a matter of fact, even I got information from an elder. An elder gave me information on how everyone in the congregation was depressed. Yes, depressed. He went on shepherding calls, and it would lead to tears. He'd sit down, he'd talk with the witnesses in their home. Everyone was on antidepressants and self-medicated themselves with alcohol and antidepressants. He said it was sad to see this. These were the shepherding calls. So they're seeing all these witnesses at their worst. You make a shepherding call and the people are depressed. Why are the Jehovah's Witnesses depressed? The burden that is put on you makes you feel like you're never good enough as a Jehovah's Witness. Did you ever feel like you were good enough? It didn't matter what you did today. What are you going to do tomorrow? So, I mean, that's a real burden. It makes people feel like, oh my God, how can I keep up with this organization? And then they show these videos on JW streaming, and they're showing people giving their all. They're showing people, sick people and crippled people, and they're getting to the meetings and they're going out in service. What does that do for people? They're saying, geez, I can't do that. So it's an unachievable or a never achievable lifestyle. You can't achieve it. How could you ever achieve it? And it makes everyone feel like they're not good enough. So the circuit overseer was right. People are depressed in the organization. Can you imagine the circuit overseer saying that? Yeah, the circuit overseers, I mean, seriously, for one of those to speak out about this, it shows that something must be happening. These are men, the circuit overseers are men that are trained to mentally disconnect from empathy. Generally, a circuit overseer will disconnect from empathy. They have no feeling for you. But for this circuit overseer, the information from the man that sent this to me, saying this happened in his congregation, and saying that, wow, the witnesses are so down and out. When you stop and think about it, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritual drained. That's what he was saying the people in the organization are. How would it not be? I mean, even last week's Watchtower, I don't know if you saw it or not, but they're talking about how you can get strength during persecution and difficulty, and they're talking about the Holocaust, and then also they talk about reminders of how we're being persecuted. We're being persecuted by the nations, being persecuted by the apostates. How can you exist in that kind of a high alert, high stress state for so long without being worn out? I mean, that's what you would be. I mean, the meetings are not encouraging at all. They're not refreshing. People aren't really feeling like, wow, this is wonderful. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. All the meetings are talking about is how you're being persecuted, the apostates against us. You're going to feel just terrible. Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, they've been rode hard. They've been rode into the ground, and there's nothing left. And there really isn't. I saw the faces in the assembly. It was quiet. It was Holocaust pictures. It was, we got to endure persecution. Imagine you're 80 years old, and they're talking about prisons and camps and running through the fields. And, how much harder can you ride these people? They have been ridden into the ground. And it's like taking a racehorse and just smacking it on the ass and say, get back running again. There's nothing left. I'm telling you, when I saw my brother and my uncles at that funeral for my brother on Zoom, they were beat up. They looked like owls that were standing on limbs just staring. Every one of them. My aunts, they were all gray hair. I hadn't seen them since I was a kid. They were all old and tired. My uncle was leaning over on a table. My other uncle was sick. And I just sat back going, wow, But I agree with you, Rick. You can't push them anymore. They're done. They're done. And there's no more. What's the future? It used to be we're going to stand by and see the salvation of Jehovah. Now they're telling them, empty your house out and flee into the wilderness and wait there until further notice. That was the end of the convention. That was the whole second half of the convention on Sunday, was go into a wilderness. And the little boy says, how long do we wait? Until Jehovah says we can leave. That's a whole different hope than what we had when we were in there. We were going to stand still and see the salvation of Jehovah. Nothing was going to stop the preaching work. And if they tried to stop the preaching work, it would be like putting a finger in Jehovah's eyeball. And they would by no means escape. And we were going to stand by and see the salvation of Jehovah. Anyway, interesting, Rick. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dan. I mean, the people on YouTube are writing, boy, it's so good to hear from Dan. They love your passion. They love your commitment. Thank you, Dan.
We love them too.
I know you.
Love them too. They're all a part of it too, Rick. All of them are.
Yes, they are. All those people writing, and thank you, Dan, for saying that. That really means a lot to them. So here's the thing. I mean, what a terrible life. What a terrible life it is for Jehovah's Witnesses right now, especially around this time of year. Christmas is a joyous time. The church groups, other churches are having fun. They're meeting together. They're seeing plays. They're eating great food. It's unbelievable. I got some information from one man that said that his church is, they have a play and they have food that people go in, and the churches have taken so good to them, food, sandwiches, beverages. That's not what happens in the Watchtower. At Christmas time, they completely go blank. They completely do nothing. The witnesses, they're always talking in their meetings. You go to a regular church meeting, it's upbuilding. You're hitting your head on the doorpost on the way out. But when you go to a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall meeting, all they're doing is talking about how awful this life is. And doesn't that make you depressed? They throw the burdens on you, and they blame it's actually Satan's world that's creating all the. Who needs to live in a world like that? Some of the people who have left the Watchtower and have gone into the regular churches, they're surprised at how life can really be and how nice the churches are. And they have open arms and they help people and they give them food. And it's not just a matter of someone giving you something, but they feel encouraged. How can you feel encouraged going to a Jehovah's Witness meeting when it's all gloom and doom? Armageddon's coming. It's coming. Be ready. Be ready. Get in your bunker. How can you live a normal life like that? Come on, let's get real. Oh, my goodness. It's just amazing to me. What would you like to say, Dick? I think, yes, go ahead, Constance.
Yeah, hi, honey. I was just going to say what's interesting is, I love what Dan said, and I love everyone's comments. But, in this organization, the best way I can describe it is they just literally suck the life out of you. They just suck the life out of you until you are just completely dead, And so am I surprised that the CEO said that, people are physically, spiritually, mentally? No, because the organization's what's causing the problem. It's all about negativity. It's, fear, obligation, and guilt. And that's their way of operating in order to manipulate and control the people. And it's not until you really just wake up and sort of stand back and, clear out the cobwebs and realize, this is all a big scam and I need to get the heck out of this because there is no new chapter. It's going to be happy. They just use and abuse the people. And, Rick, the other thing I was going to say is you're right. This is Christmas. People should be very happy. Sometimes it's the only time when families and friends can get together, And when I was living in California, oh my gosh, my church back there, in fact, even tonight, they've got, like, for 4 nights straight, they have the most fabulous Christmas concert. Oh, my word, it is fabulous. And people come together and they have a little dessert before, and it's spectacular. It's not outrageous. It's only like $25, a night, but they go all out. And, you walk in there and you're enjoying the Christmas music and the people having a good time, and you walk away, Rick, and you just feel so happy just to be alive. You never have that with Watchtower. Watchtower just wants to use and abuse people. And one other thought that I just wanted to say, Rick, it scares me so much when I find out that there's so many sisters that are on these antidepressant pills, okay? And I know there are, and they've been on them for a long time. And it really scares me when I know that there's so much alcoholism among both men and women. Okay, I won't mention names, but I know quite a few ex-JW women that are full-blown raging alcoholics today after coming out of the cult. But my point that I'm trying to make is, you taking all that crap, it's going to definitely take a toll on your life. And those antidepressants, they might help you for a while. But what ends up happening on a long-term basis is you end up getting Alzheimer's, and that's very serious. And then as far as alcoholism is concerned, you keep drinking and drinking and drinking. It not only blows out your liver and you end up with cirrhosis, but you can also get something known as wet brain. And wet brain is where you don't even remember who your family is. Marianne had a brother that had wet brain, and she flew back to New York. His name, anyway, I won't say his name, but she went to Dennis. She went to go see Dennis. And she said, "Oh, Dennis, I'm so glad to see you." And he said, "Well, who are you?" She says, well, I'm your baby sister. And he says, well, I don't have a baby sister. And he had what brain? He had been drinking for years and years and years. And Mary said to me, she says, Con, as I started talking to him about, just reminiscing on things, then he realized, oh, yeah, I do remember that. But, my point with regards to all this, Rick, is this organization does so much, for people in a real negative way, especially with their health, their physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. And there's some serious, serious ramifications that people pay for at the end of their life. And I just don't wish that on anyone. I just really don't. I hope people really take to heart what we're saying out of love so that they wake up and get out. And you know what? I've been out 40 years and my life's been great. It really has been great. I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back in a heartbeat. I just wouldn't. So thank you, Rick. Thank you for everything you do, and we love you.
Wow, we love you too, Constance. Well, I'm sitting back with listening to those comments. Very, very good. Thank you, Constance, for saying that. You really. Yes, go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead. Yep.
Hi, guys. It's Angela. And hey, Connie, thanks for those comments. That was really, really great. And I wanted to just kind of back up to that a little bit too, and just say that, it's funny because, this whole discussion about not feeling like you're good enough, how they're dealing with that in there right now and their depression and what they're doing to try to cope, which like Connie just mentioned, drinking, whatever, just trying to block out what they just don't know what to do with, and because again, we weren't allowed to have critical thinking, as was discussed earlier tonight. We weren't allowed to think, don't you dare think, all these kind of things that we were taught not to do that we needed to be doing. So now we're still trying to cope by drinking and doing these different things to try to numb our brain down so that we don't get in trouble. And then you're out, and maybe for a long time, like me in Worldwide Church of God, and you still feel like you're not good enough. So, we're not allowed to celebrate Christmas, but now we are. And then you have this sense of like, now the guilt is there that, am I doing enough for Christmas? Maybe I haven't done enough. I mean, it's just like that idea of not being enough and doing enough doesn't just go away because you leave. And that's so crazy to me that it just never stops. And if we don't go get the critical thinking skills that we need by reading a book or taking a class or learning the 12 steps and clearing out the junk inside our brains, and we don't do the work to, clear out what's clogging us up in our mind, then we continue to drink and drug and stay depressed and take the medication for that, and it never ends. And so I just want to encourage, everybody, don't forget about those wonderful classes you can take. It helped me tremendously. Reading Codependent No More by Melody Beatty was a dream of a book, changed my whole life. Studying about boundaries and just taking some basic classes where you learn how to, forgive people and learn how to function in life and learn how to balance a checkbook and learn how to just be normal in relationships and know how to deal with problems at work and, how to speak your mind and say no and, learn how to take care of yourself. We didn't learn that. That's why we don't fit in this world. But we had to learn. We have to learn. And it's not too late. It's never too late. And so I just want to encourage you to don't think for a minute it's too late for me. It isn't. It doesn't take a lot to begin to feel a lot better fast. And I just encourage you to read some good books and try to get some clarity in your mind about, how come that didn't feel good? Well, there's a reason why it didn't feel good. You're not allowed to think for yourself about this or that, or you believe that you should be doing this or that, but they're telling you, no, this is what we want you to be doing. And, all these different things that you didn't explore or dream or follow up on a dream because you were told no. But now you're free. And so now you have the opportunity, and I say it's never too late. If you're still alive and you're breathing, then go for it. Take a painting class, take a pottery class. I don't know. Learn how to play some piano at age 90. I don't know. But you know what I do know? There is life still to be lived, and I just hope we'll give ourselves permission to live. And that's all I want to say. Thank you, everybody, for all your wonderful comments. It's been a wonderful night.
Well, Angela, the writing in here, you sound different without the guitar. No, I have to tell you that I saw your little music.
I just want to say It's going to be a really great fireside sing-along on December 14th, and that was a very practiced run, and I was not practicing. I shouldn't have put that out like that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the fireplace and my wonderful wall of the wonderful wall of not white with petrified wood. That's what.
Well, we're looking forward. We're looking forward to the program, Angela. So that's gonna be December 14th. How can people get on that program?
Okay, so we're gonna do Facebook Live on Life After Religion, and then we're gonna do the Zoom meeting, which will be on all of our stations all of our Facebook pages. So I'm going to have mine, Angela's Inspirations, Life After Religion, Facebook. So it'll be Facebook Live on Life After Religion, and everywhere you can get on that Zoom link. It'll be everywhere that we ever do anything. So anyway, you'll find it, Facebook Live, and then the Zoom meeting, which we're going to put out on all of our Facebook pages. So that will be it for the 14th at 6:30. And Rick, I'll sing on your show again if you want me to, if you're going to do it again this year. So I want to offer that too. But my songs are going to be great, and Dan's going to be helping me out, keeping that fire going. We're going to have a Santa Claus visit. It should be a lot of fun on the 14th at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. Okay.
Well, looking forward to it, and then we'll do our Christmas show, and we'll have you come on and sing. We'll have the fireplace, so that'll be the week before Christmas, whenever that is. I don't have the date in front of me, but the week before Christmas we'll do that show. We'll have you come on and sing. We'd love to have you do that. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, Rick, one more thing is I'm going to offer a free CD that night to send to somebody, like I think I did that last year too, of the Inspirations of Christmas CD. And then me and Dan are going to offer whenever you want to. We are going to give away one of each of our books. So Eyewitness, The Shocking Insider Story of Jehovah's Witnesses, and Surrender, Your Key to the Kingdom Within. Then my book, Awakening from Unconscious Resentment, that one will be offered as well, just for you guys. The first person to email us gets the book. And we'll show all of those. We'll tell you about them later. So I want to let you know that. I mean, you can offer that whenever you want, okay?
Well, that sounds really, really good, Angela. Well, you're a fine young lady. You just keep moving forward. You and Dan both. And I mean that. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Angela. All righty.
Thank you.
All right. Well, anyways, that's Angela and Dan. I mean, yeah, you got to love them. Yes. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Eric. When you were talking about how the people were beat up in the organization from the circuit overseer, it reminds me of when Samuel heard one of his videos on JW.org. He says, is your best good enough? A sister once with a thorn in her flesh was complaining, and I said, well, you can still walk, can't you? I mean, these guys literally are, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, they're assholes. An old sister with a thorn in the flesh is complaining about it, and you say basically you can still walk? Well, how about you, Samuel Hurd, you fat you-know-what? Like, how come we don't see you out in service, and how come you're not doing more for Jehovah just because you're a governing body member? These guys are big jerks, and they're domineering men, and they have pushed the people to the point of apathy, in my opinion, and it's like the expression "milking a dry udder." They're killing the cow from it. The people have given everything in the scheme of thinking that the end of the system of things was near. But that's all I have to say, Rick.
Well, you sort of said a mouthful there, Eric. I mean, really good. Thank you very much for coming on and being with us. And we'll have your program next Saturday night. We're looking forward to Eric coming on. He's doing a wonderful job. That'll be 9:30 next Saturday night right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Fran and Joe, I don't know if you're listening in or not, but I did send you a link to your program coming up. So if you want to get in that link, your program will come up very shortly here. I hope you got the link. Maybe you didn't, but I did get back and check it. It does show that you got the link. I'm just not sure. Generally, I see you on here, the outside story. So that's coming up next right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Are you on there with us, friend Joe? Okay, we'll see what happens. I don't see them on our. Usually what happens when I do the I send them off a link. They can connect and they'll come on for the program. But they'll be on shortly, I'm sure. So don't worry. We'll get a hold of them. If not, we'll give them a call. But anyways, you're on 6 screens, JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But we talk about it every Saturday night right here. And we're so glad to be able to expose the Watchtower organization. Well, let's see what else we got that's going on in the Watchtower. We've got a lot of stories that are still developing here. And we're waiting for Fran and Joe. I'm going to give Fran and Joe a call right now just to get them. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for all you do for everybody in the community. And my name's Keith. I'm going back to college. And
hey, Rick.
I'm gonna.
Hello.
Oh,
hi,
hello.
Rick.
Hold on 1 second, Keith. We'll go right back to you. Yes, Fran.
No worries.
Okay, yeah, we're on. Sorry about that.
Okay, you hang in there. We'll get you in just a couple of minutes here, but we'll go back to Keith. Go ahead, Keith. Hello, Keith.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what everybody's been saying. It takes a lot of courage to leave, and everybody that does, it's such an admirable thing. It takes you standing up for yourself, and we were taught that we had no value and we were good for nothing slaves and all that stuff, that programming, but it does get better. You don't. So I just wanted to thank you and everybody on here for having the courage to speak up. That's all.
Well, Keith, thank you very much. So this is your first time coming in. We appreciate that. And don't you be a stranger. Now you come back and visit us again, okay?
All right. Have a good one.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. All right. Well, we're going to Fran and Joe, the outside story. Now, what Fran and Joe are trying to do is bring ex-Jehovah's Witnesses together. They have these meetups, and they're doing everything they can to put people in touch with one another. So join their program coming up tonight. I think it's going to be very fascinating. So let's go over right now to the other studio. I just want to see if they are in there. Yeah, they are. So just hang in with us, and we're going to end this program, JW World News. Well, we want to thank everyone for coming in tonight to JW World News. Boy, I'll tell you what, well, rockin' night tonight. I mean, really wonderful. Lots of people coming in. We have one more. Did you want to make one more comment? 817, Dwight, did you want to make one more comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, I was just calling about the last comment that was talking about Jehovah's Spirit not being there in the meetings, or there's no energy, no this, no that. And that's because, of course, they're worn out. But Jehovah's Spirit is not there anymore. And if people wonder, well, where is his spirit? Well, it's with all the individuals in the world that are trying to live a Christian life. That's where his spirit is. We don't have to be part of a religious group to worship Jehovah. So that's what we can say to all the folks that are worried about if the Watchtower ends, where do we go? Well, you don't have to go anywhere. You just stay in your home and keep worshiping Jehovah.
Well, very good. Thank you very much. Good comment. Okay, let's go over to New Hampshire. We got New Hampshire on with us. What did you want to say, New Hampshire? 603. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Rick. Kevin, up in New Hampshire.
Yes, Kevin.
I used to go to the East Concord congregation.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, when you talk about Christmas, I like Christmas. And you know what? I think there was information that the Bethel family used to celebrate Christmas. And then some Bethelite, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. A Bethelite said, hey, look at this. You're not supposed to celebrate Christmas because of this or this or that, you know? And so they stopped celebrating Christmas. But what did they do to that brother? They said, please leave. They told him to leave Bethel. They didn't really tell him to leave. They probably said, get the hell out, right?
More than likely,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
yeah,
I just wanted to say, well, my last meeting was 2011, and to 2018, I've been watching a lot of these YouTube videos of ex-witnesses since 2018, and I've had these cobwebs in my head all these years thinking that this is Jehovah's organization and his spirit is there, which it's not. It's not Jehovah's organization. It's the Watchtower publishing company is what it is. And in 2018, I was listening to the horror stories that ex-witnesses were telling on their YouTube channels, and that really woke me up. 2018, 2019, and it's just like the cobwebs. I'm like Pomo, physically out, mentally out. But if it weren't for you guys doing your YouTube videos, there's a lot of people that still, even if they don't go to the meetings, it's still in their head. The cobwebs are still in their head. There's mind control, which I really thought when I used to go wasn't there, but it exists. The mind control is there when you go to those meetings. They have their own language. It's a cult, really. So I want to thank you and everybody else that have your YouTube videos. They really do help people a lot, even to get the cobwebs out of their head. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, there's so many other people doing it. Kim and Mikey, and we have so many critical thinker. We have so many people doing YouTubes, and it's all helping. It's all helping. Thank you for saying that. Well, anyways, we got to bring this program to an end. Yeah, indeed we do. We have the outside story coming up next right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. But you've been listening to JW World News, and spread the word. If you listening in on YouTube, why don't you subscribe if you haven't already? Subscribe to the channel. If you're on Facebook, like us. That can make a difference. That can bring more and more people to come in and leave the Watchtower. So go ahead and do that for us. You'll be helping so many people by subscribing to the channel if you didn't already do that. Well, thank you for coming in tonight. Yeah, we had a good program, a lot of good comments, a lot of people calling in. Things are really going on behind the Watchtower. And friends, I have to tell you, I'm very happy, and you should be happy too, that we are seeing the Watchtower crumble. We know how disappointing they have been to so many people. We know the problems they've caused in people's lives, but now we're seeing the Watchtower crumble. So that is a wonderful thing. Well, we got Joe and Fran. They're coming up next right here on our network. So stay tuned for them. They're trying to put ex-witnesses together. That's the format of their program. And tonight they have a special tribute. I want you to listen in as a ex-Jehovah's Witness that died, and they're going to talk somewhat about that. So by all means, stay tuned to Fran and Joe with the outside story. Well, friends, there's no Six Screens tomorrow on Sunday. We do it every other week, but we love doing it. So join us next Sunday afternoon on the Six Screens Telenetwork, and we'll go to Joe and Fran right now. And we really appreciate you coming in, as we say. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, by all means, turn off the new light. Let's end the stream here. Joe and Fran coming up next, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork.